Imagine standing at the counter of a fast food restaurant, worrying you can't afford your child's meal, when out of nowhere, a famous actor quietly steps in to help, no strings attached. Sounds unbelievable, right? That's exactly what happened to a struggling mother and her young son, when Keanu Reeves, without a second thought, changed their lives forever with one simple act of kindness. Where are you watching from? Share in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Welcome to Motivation for Success, your go-to channel for stories that spark hope, ignite the human spirit, and remind us all of the power of compassion. If you love uplifting tales of kindness and resilience, you're in the right place. Now, let's dive into this extraordinary journey that proves kindness still exists in the most unexpected places. It was a crisp, cool morning in early spring. The sky was a soft shade of gray, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves on the street. Morgan, a single mother wearing a well-worn gray t-shirt and faded jeans, woke up early as she always did. She peeked into the small bedroom to check on her 6-year-old son, Noah, who was fast asleep in his blue t-shirt and sweatpants. For a moment, Morgan let herself forget the stack of unpaid bills and the lingering anxiety that seemed to follow her like a shadow. But the quiet moment didn't last. As soon as she began preparing a modest breakfast, the familiar worries flooded her mind. How could she stretch her remaining few dollars until payday? Would she have enough to buy groceries for the week? Could she make Noah's upcoming birthday feel special even though money was tight? Morgan took a deep breath. "I'll figure something out," she whispered, forcing a small smile to her reflection in the window. She made a silent promise to herself that, no matter how tough things got, she would find a way to keep Noah's spirits high. Noah's birthday fell on a Saturday, which was both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because Morgan didn't have to juggle her part-time work shift on top of the birthday, a curse because she couldn't afford a big celebration like other parents. She had promised Noah a treat, a small outing to McDonald. That, at least, was something she could manage, she hoped. The morning of Noah's birthday was unseasonably chilly. Morgan found herself checking her wallet once more. She had exactly $6.50 remaining after paying the rent and covering the bare essentials. Just enough, she told herself, for Noah's lunch. And maybe a small drink. Noah emerged from his bedroom, excitement radiating from his brown eyes. "Mom, can we have a cake too?" he asked, beaming at her with unbridled hope. He wore his favorite blue t-shirt, which was a bit too small now but still his go-to outfit for special occasions. Morgan's heart sank. She didn't have enough to buy a proper cake. But she smiled and gently touched his cheek. "We'll see what we can do," she said, not wanting to crush his excitement outright. "First, let's make it to McDonald, okay?" Holding Noah's hand tightly, Morgan walked down the cracked sidewalk. The breeze felt colder than earlier, or maybe her nerves made it feel that way. Each step she took toward McDonald was heavy with the knowledge that she was on the brink of emptying her wallet. Still, she plastered on a brave face, determined not to let Noah see her worry. "Mom," Noah asked, hopping over the small cracks in the pavement as if it were a game, "how old am I again today?" "You're turning 6, buddy. A big 6. Morgan replied, squeezing his hand. "You know what that means, right?" Noah giggled. "I get to be the boss for the day." Morgan laughed, though her chest felt tight. "Yes, you do. But let's not go too overboard, okay?" When they finally arrived at McDonald, Morgan paused at the glass door. She peered inside the brightly lit interior, plastic chairs bolted to the floor, posters of smiling kids biting into hamburgers, and a menu board filled with combo meals that cost more than she could comfortably afford. She reminded herself that she only needed one kid's meal and maybe a small soda. That was all she could manage, and it would have to be enough. The restaurant wasn't crowded, which was a relief. Morgan led Noah up to the counter, where a young employee stood, tapping the register screen with bored efficiency. "Welcome to McDonald. What can I get for you?" the employee asked without much warmth. Morgan forced a pleasant smile, ignoring the anxious flutter in her stomach. "I'd like the kids' cheeseburger meal, please," she said. "That should come with fries, right?" The employee nodded and entered the order. "That's $4.75, he said, plus tax." Morgan quietly inhaled, relieved she had exactly enough for that. She glanced down at Noah, who was craning his neck to see if there were any special birthday deals or treats advertised on the menu board. "We'll just get a small soda for him, too," she added softly. Noah's eyes lit up. "Mom, do they have that chocolate swirl dessert here?" he asked, his voice filled with the innocent hope only a child could have. Her heart clenched. She knew the dessert alone would push them over the limit. "Sorry, buddy," she said, "we'll have to skip that today." Noah nodded, disappointment flickering across his face for a second before he tried to brighten up. "It's okay, Mom. The cheeseburger is enough. I'm just happy to celebrate." She pulled out her wallet, worn at the edges, and counted the bills and coins onto the counter. Exactly $6.50. She watched as the employee picked up the money, gave her some change, and handed her a small receipt. They took their tray to a small table near the window. Morgan settled Noah into his seat. She always noticed how the bright fluorescent lights contrasted sharply with her worn gray t-shirt, a garment that had seen too many washes. Meanwhile, Noah's blue t-shirt had a small dinosaur embroidered on the corner, a gift from a thrift store find last year. Morgan sat across from her son, watching him unwrap his cheeseburger with the kind of delight that only children can possess. "I'm 6 now, Mom. Can I stay up later tonight?" he asked between mouthfuls of fries. She laughed, trying to forget the swirling anxiety in her mind. "We'll see, boss man," she teased. "But if you stay up late, you have to promise me you'll pick up your toys." Noah grinned, showing off where one of his front teeth had recently fallen out. "Deal." For a moment, Morgan felt a wave of relief. She had managed to give her son a modest birthday treat. It wasn't extravagant, but it was something. The tension in her shoulders began to ease, until she noticed a figure in a corner booth. The man wore a simple cap and a plain jacket, almost as if he wanted to blend in. She squinted, thinking he looked familiar, but she couldn't place him immediately. The man seemed to be minding his own business, occasionally sipping a drink. Just as Noah finished his meal, an older employee approached, wearing the standard uniform. He looked uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot before speaking. "Ma'am," he began, "there seems to be an issue with the payment for the fries and soda." Morgan felt her stomach drop. She was sure she had given the exact amount. Or had she miscalculated the tax? I paid at the counter," she stammered, her cheeks growing hot under the fluorescent lights. "Is there a mistake?" The employee shrugged, glancing at the small receipt in his hand. "It looks like we're about $2 short. The meal was rung up incorrectly at first. We need the additional amount." Morgan felt the stares of a few other customers. She could feel Noah's worried gaze as he clutched the last French fry. "I'm sorry," she muttered. "I have some change in my—" She opened her wallet in a flurry, only to see a few coins that would hardly add up to $1. Her heart pounded louder than she thought possible. "I can run to my apartment," she offered hurriedly. "It's not far. I'll be back in 20 minutes. The employee glanced around as though he didn't want to cause a scene. "All right," he said stiffly, "but please leave something here as a guarantee. We've had people say they'll come back and never do." Morgan felt a wave of shame. "I'll leave my ID," she said, "just let me grab it." She fumbled in her purse, pulling out her worn identification card. The employee took it, eyes full of doubt. "Please come back soon." Noah looked up at her with wide eyes. "Mom? Is everything okay?" Morgan forced a tight smile. "Everything's fine, sweetie. I just need to get a little more money. Stay here and wait for me, okay?" He nodded slowly, tears threatening to spill from his eyes. "But it's my birthday," he whispered, as if that fact alone should solve all their problems. Morgan's chest ached. She gently stroked Noah's hair. "I'll be back before you know it. Just sit tight, my birthday boy." At that moment, the man in the corner booth, whom Morgan had noticed earlier, rose to his feet. He left his drink on the table and approached the counter quietly. The brim of his cap was pulled low, and his footsteps were soft and purposeful. He placed a bill on the counter and spoke to the same employee who had confronted Morgan. "I'd like to cover that mother and son's meal. And if possible, could you add a small dessert for the boy?" The employee's eyes widened as he recognized Keanu Reeves beneath the baseball cap. Struggling to contain his shock, he managed to nod. "Yes, of course, sir," he said in a hushed tone. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves." Keanu raised a hand gently. "Please, let's keep it quiet. No need to make it a big deal." Then, with a kind smile, he turned and made his way out the door before anyone else could recognize him. Morgan had just slipped outside, intending to jog to her nearby apartment, when she heard footsteps rushing behind her. She turned around to see the same employee calling after her, waving her ID card in the air. "Ma'am, you can come back," he said, breathless. "Your meal is covered, and there's a dessert waiting for your son." Morgan blinked, completely confused. "But I don't have the money yet," she stuttered. "I swear I was only gone for—" "It's already paid," the employee replied. "A gentleman took care of everything." Morgan's mouth fell open. "Who?" "I want to thank him." But the employee shook his head. "He left, but he asked us to give you this." He held out a small piece of paper, a receipt with a note scribbled on the back. It read simply, "Pay it forward when you can. Best wishes, Kr." Morgan rushed back inside, heart thumping wildly. There at the table, Noah's eyes were as big as saucers, fixated on a small slice of chocolate cake with a single candle flickering on top. He was so excited he was practically bouncing in his seat. "Mom! Mom!" he shouted the moment she stepped back in. "Look! They gave me cake. For my birthday." She hurried over, her breath catching. "Noah, that's wonderful," she exclaimed. "Someone was really kind to us." Noah beamed, his earlier worries replaced by childlike wonder. "It's like having a secret superhero." Morgan bent down and hugged her son tightly, tears gathering in her eyes. "Yes, buddy," she whispered, "a secret superhero indeed." They savored every bite of the cake. Morgan no longer worried about the stares or the judgment from other patrons. All that mattered was Noah's bright smile and the overwhelming sense of relief washing over her. She didn't know Keanu Reeves personally. All she knew was that his one act of generosity had turned what could have been a disastrous birthday into a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. After they finished, Morgan handed the employee her phone number, hoping to get in touch with the mysterious benefactor who had vanished as quickly as he appeared. "If he ever comes by again," she told the employee, "please let him know how grateful we are." The employee, still stunned by the whole event, nodded. "Will do, ma'am." Noah happily gathered the last of his fries into a small bag. "Mom, can we go home now and light the candle again?" he asked, his eyes dancing. Morgan laughed, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders for the first time in weeks. "Sure thing, birthday boy. Let's do that." The next morning, Morgan's phone rang unexpectedly. Typically, she only received calls from bill collectors or the occasional wrong number. But this time, the voice on the other end was friendly, introducing himself as Mr. Evans, a local business owner. "I happened to be at McDonald yesterday," Mr. Evans explained, "and saw how you handled everything with such grace. It can't be easy being a single mom, especially in that situation. I run a small grocery store and could really use someone with patience and perseverance on my team. Would you be interested in an interview?" Morgan nearly dropped the phone. An interview? Yes. Yes, of course. Thank you so much. She set a time to meet Mr. Evans that very week. As soon as she hung up, she let out a yelp of joy. Noah, who was coloring dinosaurs in the living room, hurried over. "Mom. You sound happy," he said, his head tilted in curiosity. Morgan swooped him up in a hug. "I am, Noah. Thanks to yesterday, someone saw how we handled ourselves. I might have a new job." Noah's face lit up. "Does that mean we can buy more snacks?" Morgan laughed. "It means we might not have to worry so much anymore, sweetheart. We'll have to see how it goes." That afternoon, Morgan found herself standing by the small window in their apartment, staring out at the street below. She thought about how just one day ago, she was scraping together coins to buy her son a birthday meal. Now, she had a job interview that could provide a better life for both of them. She recalled the note on the back of the receipt. "Pay it forward when you can. Best wishes, Kr." She didn't need to be told twice. Morgan promised herself that once she was on her feet financially, she would find a way to help someone else in need, just as Keanu Reeves had done for her. He may never know how big an impact his small gesture had, Morgan thought, but I'll make sure his kindness keeps going. Across town, Keanu Reeves sat in a quiet cafe, wearing the same cap pulled low over his brow. He flipped through a paperback novel, occasionally sipping a cup of black coffee. For him, small acts of kindness were a necessary reminder that behind every stranger lies a story worth hearing, a life worth improving, if only for a moment. He didn't crave recognition or applause. In fact, the less attention, the better. Keanu believed in the ripple effect. Helping one person can lead to a domino chain of benevolence that goes far beyond what any single individual can imagine. When Morgan arrived at Mr. Evans' grocery store for her interview, her nerves were nearly unbearable. She wore the nicest blouse she owned over the same gray t-shirt, trying to appear both professional and practical. Noah was at a neighbor's, under the promise that if things went well, Morgan would bring him a small treat to celebrate. Mr. Evans greeted Morgan with a warm smile. He was a tall, middle-aged man with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "I appreciate you coming in, Ms. Morgan," he said. "Let's talk about what you're looking for." Over the next half hour, they discussed her prior work experience, her ability to handle pressure, and her comfort interacting with customers. Mr. Evans seemed to like her honest answers. "You know," he commented, "I've met a lot of people in tough circumstances who would have lashed out or stormed off in frustration. But you kept calm and made sure your son felt safe, even though you were under immense stress. That speaks to character." Morgan flushed with gratitude. "I was terrified," she admitted. "But I couldn't let my son see me crumble. He deserves better than that." Mr. Evans nodded, impressed. "I can't guarantee the most lavish salary," he said, "but I can offer flexible hours, especially if you need to pick Noah up from school. We also have some health benefits after a probation period." Morgan nearly burst into tears of relief. "That's more than I ever hoped for. I promise I'll work hard and do my best." "I believe you," he replied, offering a broad smile. "You can start next Monday, if that works." When Morgan left the grocery store, she could hardly contain her excitement. She rushed home, scooped Noah into her arms, and spun him around. He giggled with delight. "I got the job," she exclaimed, eyes shining. "We're going to be okay, Noah. We're really going to be okay." Noah clapped his hands. "Yes. That means more cheeseburgers next time," he teased, remembering how he couldn't get everything he wanted at McDonald on his birthday. Morgan chuckled. "Maybe, kiddo. But also more vegetables and real meals, okay? Gotta stay healthy." Over the next few weeks, Morgan settled into her new job. She found that she had a knack for helping customers, offering them genuine smiles and compassion. Many of her co-workers appreciated her warmth and willingness to learn. She soon made friends among them, some of whom were single parents as well, juggling life's financial and emotional hurdles. Meanwhile, Noah adjusted to the new routine like a champ. Morgan could pick him up from school without scrambling to find childcare or risking job conflict. For the first time in a long while, Morgan felt like she was in control of her life instead of constantly playing defense. Occasionally, she would treat Noah to a small dessert from the grocery store bakery, remembering how he had once asked for dessert at McDonald and she couldn't afford it. Each time, she'd think about the man who made that day possible, Keanu Reeves. His kindness had opened a door that might have otherwise stayed shut. True to her promise, Morgan wasted no time paying forward the kindness she'd received. On one crisp evening, she stayed late at work to help a coworker named Avery clean up after a particularly messy day. Avery was a young college student working to support her education. She looked exhausted, her face drawn from studying and long work hours. "You don't have to stay," Avery told Morgan, yawning. "You've got a child at home. I can manage." Morgan shook her head. "I know what it's like to do everything alone. Let's get this done faster together." The next day, Morgan surprised Avery by covering her shift for a few hours so she could study for an important exam. It was a simple gesture, but Avery's eyes filled with grateful tears. "Thank you," Avery managed, "I really needed the time." Morgan just smiled. "Someone helped me when I was in a tight spot. I'm only doing the same." Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves continued his unassuming life, taking on new film projects here and there, but always cherishing his privacy. He visited various local spots, slipping under the radar. Now and then, he'd quietly pay for someone's meal, leave a generous tip, or help an elderly person carry groceries. His actions never made headline news in the dramatic way celebrity stories sometimes do, and that was exactly how he wanted it. But in Morgan's apartment, and in Mr. Evans' grocery store, and even in Avery's dorm room, his name was spoken with a sense of deep gratitude and quiet awe. He had not only bought a meal and a birthday cake, he had reminded them that compassion still thrives in a world often overshadowed by self-interest. One evening, Morgan sat with Noah in their cozy living room, helping him with his homework. She noticed him doodling small stars in the margin of his paper. "Mom," he said, "when I grow up, I'm gonna help people, just like that man from McDonald helped us. You know, the one who gave me the cake." Morgan felt her heart swell. "You do that, Noah," she replied softly, "and you'll be someone's hero." "He's my hero," Noah whispered back. "I just wish I could tell him, thank you." Morgan's eyes glistened with tears. "Maybe one day you will," she said. "But for now, we show our thanks by being good to others." And so, a single act of kindness from Keanu Reeves set off a chain reaction that touched multiple lives. Morgan gained not just a meal and a birthday cake for her son, but also the courage to keep believing in better days. Noah learned that heroes can walk among us in everyday clothing, quietly changing lives. And Mr. Evans got a dedicated new employee who could bring warmth and understanding to everyone she served. What about you? How will you pay forward the kindness you've received in life? Maybe there's someone in your neighborhood who needs a helping hand, a smile, or a supportive word. Perhaps you have just enough extra in your pocket to buy a stranger's coffee. Sometimes, the simplest gesture can turn someone's entire day, maybe even their entire life, around. Here's the takeaway: compassion and kindness are powerful. They don't just solve immediate problems, they create new opportunities, open doors, and inspire others to do the same. When you act out of genuine empathy, you never know whose future you might reshape. If this story moved you, take a moment to do something kind for someone else today, no matter how small. Let's keep the ripple of generosity flowing, one good deed at a time. And don't forget, subscribe to Motivation for Success for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the power we all hold to transform lives. Share this video with someone who could use a little inspiration, and leave a comment below telling us how you plan to pay kindness forward. Thank you for joining us, and remember, even the smallest act of compassion can spark a change you never thought possible. Stay motivated, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next story.